Islands are ecologically some of the most interesting places on the planet, with plants and animals adapting to their homes with restricted resources and space. Some organisms thrive, becoming larger than their mainland counterparts, like the Galapagos giant tortoise, while others struggle in their habitat and shrink in size, like the island boys. The isle is surprisingly set on an island, and for the purposes of this video, I am going to pretend like it's the mainland, as I am mainly referring to the smaller islands off the coast of Gateway. These islands are currently boring as hell, as there's nothing to them except some palm trees, grass, and rocks. They are currently an unfinished part of the map, and I personally hope they get touched on in the near future, as it could cause a lot of interesting interactions between the roster and map. Swimming from island to island to find different resources and escape predators sounds extremely fun to me and can open up plenty of interesting interactions between the playable roster, and something I hope for is to have certain creatures spawn on these islands when properly finished and implemented into the game, as I doubt they are going to do nothing with these islands. Today, I have composed a list of creatures that could potentially thrive on these islands and would get a lot of benefit from them. But before we get into the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. I really would like to hit 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and if I do hit 10k, I will get a low taper fade. But in all seriousness, y'all's support means a lot to me, and I'm glad I'm able to have a community that I'm able to build off of. This video will be divided into multiple parts, starting with the creatures that should only spawn on islands, to creatures that should have some spawns on islands, to one spawn on an island, to a notable exception. But with that being said, let's get into the video. The first and only creature that should only spawn on the islands is Magyarosaurus, and I think the reason's pretty obvious. It is an actual island dwarf, and I just don't see it surviving larger predators such as Allosaurus and Albertosaurus. With its island home, it should be able to fight back against the largest predators of the island and sustain itself off the limited resources. The next set of creatures should have some island spawns, as I don't want them to be only restricted to the islands, but I still want them to be part of the ecosystem, as it could be interesting. The first two creatures kind of go hand in hand, Ostroraptor and Bipiaosaurus. Both of these creatures should have an easy time swimming between and to the islands, and they should be able to take advantage of the aquatic resources and less competition, competing with less dinosaurs for fish and aquatic plants than on the mainland. Our next creature is Megalania, which could be a very interesting playable, as it should be a generalist and could swim across the map and should spawn across the map. My hope is that they take heavy amounts of inspirations from modern monitor lizards, being able to hop between the islands such as the modern Komodo dragon. The next is our slightly overrated ankylosaur friend, Mimi. This creature seems like it's going to be a generalist and should be able to travel between the islands, stealing burrows from other creatures and eating the aquatic vegetation on the island. And you might be thinking, Mimi can't swim, and you might be right about that. But with my current understanding of the droughts coming to the game, the Minmi could take advantage of these to get off the island and back on the island. Our next creature is Protoceratops, living around coastal environments and being able to make burrows in these environments. It should be an extremely interesting playable to live on the islands and around coastal regions across the map, being able to sustain itself off of coastal vegetation and hopefully bringing other creatures with it. The next playable is Pteranodon. I don't think I have to explain myself here on how it would get off the island, and it could be able to take advantage of fishing spots and smaller prey items on the island, being able to travel to and from the island with ease. And the next creature is the Quetzalcoatlus. This massive pterosaur should be the apex predator on the island and could play a similar role to Hatzegopteryx in real life, coming down to hunt the smaller creatures of the island and carrying them off. It should be able to leave the island with ease because, you know, it can fly. Tenontosaurus is probably one of the best options for this list, as the developers have stated they want it to travel to islands. With its good swimming speed and stamina, it should be able to island hop with ease and eventually make it back to the mainland. Herrerasaurus is another creature that literally is everywhere, and I like that idea, and I hope it gets some island spawns. And judging that it takes direct inspiration from iguanas, I hope they take that inspiration and put it on islands, judging that many iguanas live on islands in real life. The kind of largest land predator will be baryonyx. Being able to swim between the islands and mainland with ease, it should have some interesting dynamics with the creatures on the island, with its largest prey source being Generalist. And it should have the ability to sustain itself off of smaller creatures and should be the apex predator of the islands. Kind of. For the next 3 creatures, I think y'all are gonna have to hear me out. Deinosuchus, Spinosaurus, and Dinocyrus. All 3 of these creatures would dwarf everything on the island and will likely be able to decimate everything, and with their size also comes limitations. The islands will not be able to support multiple Dinocyrus, Spinosaurus, or Deinosuchus, and they should be able to start out growing on the island, but eventually have to leave because of lack of resources, as there should not be enough food to sustain multiple fully grown apexes. And if they decide to stay on the island, they will die. A slow and painful death. And the next set of creatures should only have 1 spawn on islands, as I personally see them more as a nomadic creature being spread across the entire map. The first creature, we have the Ceratosaurus, and competitor of the baryonyx. It should be able to leave the island easily with its swim speed and should only have 1 island spawn, and is a nomadic creature that should be across the map. The next 2 are small creatures that I think could fit the island ecosystem, but aren't as nomadic as Ceratosaurus. Monolophosaurus should fit right at home in the jungles of the islands, being able to find prey with ease with its heightened sense of smell, but should not have as many spawns and is not as aquatic as many of the other animals on this list. And Homalocephalae should also have this similar issue. Homalocephalae seems like it would be living on the grasslands, and although I like it and it should be on the islands because it is a smaller creature, it needs to be on the mainland as well to support the ecosystem, as many people have brought up it being a pollinator, which I really like that idea. Now, with the list of creatures finished, there's probably one creature y'all are wondering about and why it isn't on this list, and that's Suchomimus. Suchomimus is large enough to kill everything on the island with ease, while being smaller than the apexes, so it's able to sustain itself with the smaller prey. And that's why I personally think Suchomimus should not have any island spawns, as it would become dominant and not have any real competition. But the Islands of Gateway have the potential to become some of the most interesting parts of the entire map, and I hope they are worked on in the near future. But please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing if you liked this video. Please leave your feedback and ideas in the comment and join my Discord server in the description. I really hope y'all have a nice day, so bye-bye y'all.